As crazy as it sounds, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns are about to enter the SEC and play with the big boys. This could actually be official as early as next Wednesday, from what we're hearing. So this thing is rolling, and it looks like this is really going to happen sooner than later. So what does it mean for college football? What does it mean for the SEC? How does the SEC realign moving forward? Could Alabama and Auburn be joining the SEC East? That's what this video is all about. There's so much going on right now. This is absolutely big for a number of reasons. Obviously for football, this is big. The Oklahoma Sooners are a national power. They are a top 5 program, and they are a legitimate contender to compete for a national championship. Now, they haven't won a national championship since year 2000, I believe. They're still on the same level as Georgia. Really, really good each year. Haven't been able to win the final game, but make no mistake, they make the SEC a lot better, and they make Georgia's road to a national championship a little bit more difficult. So they are a very respectable program that is always in the hunt for a national championship. You cannot say the same about Texas. Maybe one day they'll be relevant again, but they're still the Longhorns. They have that brand. They've got the money. They've got the resources. They're a powerful program, and even though they haven't been relevant in college football for a minute, they still bring baseball, basketball, and a lot of other sports to the SEC. So this is a big, big deal for a number of reasons. You get Oklahoma basketball and softball in the mix as well. So this is more than football, and the SEC just got a lot better. There's no doubt about that. So how could the SEC look? I mean, I'm like y'all, I've been doing some research trying to figure out how this could look moving forward. We don't know yet, but there are different scenarios, obviously, that could fit. The easiest one is bring Texas, Oklahoma, put them in the West, move Alabama and Auburn, put them in the East, and then give the West Missouri to even it out. So I think that is a plan that I would say works. You'd have Georgia playing Auburn every year like they should. Those two teams should always play each year, and with this scenario, that could still happen. And again, Georgia's going to have to beat Alabama eventually. If they want to win in the national championship, they're probably going to have to go through Alabama. I don't see how they don't. So moving Alabama to the East is something I think a lot of people would love to see. Georgia and Alabama going head-to-head once again. They play each other a good bit anyway for championship games. Might as well play them in the regular season. And the SEC East is a little bit weaker with Florida not being that national power that they once were. So I do think that would make sense. And the West would still be power heavy. Oklahoma, LSU, Texas, Texas A&M. That's a stout group, no doubt about it. And Missouri belongs in the West. That's just where they belong. So I could see that. I think that is pretty even. You could still do the SEC championship between the winner of the East and the West. Would be two outstanding teams to get through that tough of a schedule. But that's one idea that I've seen floated out there, and I think that would work well. Another one is the pods, right? 4 teams, 4 pods. I think one that I came up with: Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, pod 1, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, pod 2. Georgia would play every team in pod 2 each year, as I would say. That's how I would do it. Pod 3, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas. Pod 4, LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. So there's a lot of ways to do this. I think in that scenario, you'd have to have like a semifinal SEC championship game to get to the real SEC championship game. This idea, the pod format, we've been told is not going to work. That is off the table. But it's something fun to look at and think about. But at the end of the day, I firmly believe that there's just going to be 2 divisions still, an East and the West. And I think the easiest way to do it is, again, just put Texas and Oklahoma in the West where they should be. They're the 2 farthest west schools, I believe. Give them Missouri, and then just move Alabama and Auburn over to the East. I think that's an easy transition there. They're familiar with a lot of SEC teams anyway. You could have Tennessee and Alabama continue to play every year. Those cross-division rivalry games, they mean a lot to the fans. The biggest one is obviously Georgia and Auburn. Those 2 schools want to play each other every year. Those fan bases want to play each other every year. But Tennessee and Alabama, they hate each other too. Tennessee hasn't beaten them in, I don't know, over a decade plus, 15, maybe close to 20 years by now. But that's still a rivalry. Tennessee fans still hate Alabama. Alabama fans still take a lot of pride in pummeling Tennessee every year and smoking their cigars after. So that is still a big deal. But at the end of the day, Texas and Oklahoma, as crazy as it sounds, it is happening. Florida State, you're out in the mix. No one cares. You're not relevant. You're stuck in the ACC. Clemson, you're stuck too. The narrative that Clemson doesn't play anyone is only going to double because the SEC got stronger. It's going to be tougher now where the ACC just looks even weaker because the SEC is so powerful. The Big 12, just done. I think it's going to be ripped apart. There will be no Big 12 anymore. The Big 10 is going to have to be the new Big 12. They can't keep adding teams and still being the Big 10. I think they have 11 teams right now and have for a while. Got to switch that name up. And then if you're the Pac-12, you might end up being the Pac-15. I've heard TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, those schools might be going out to the Pacific Coast, which sounds weird, having Baylor, team in Waco, Texas, being the Pac-12. So they're going to have to rename these conferences, but we're going to see this more and more. I think a lot of teams are going to be jumping ship. I think college football is going to be just brand new. Again, with the 12-team playoff format, Georgia is going to be in that more often than not. Unless something crazy happens, the wheels fall off the program, they're going to be in that top 12 every year, even with 2 losses. So I think teams already get the benefit of the doubt playing in the SEC, the toughest conference in college football. With Texas and Oklahoma coming over, they're going to make that point even more. They're still going to get a lot of the benefit of the doubt. You're going to have a 3-loss LSU possibly beat out a 2-loss Penn State, 2-loss whoever, 2-loss Oregon, Washington, whatever, getting into that 12-team playoff because the SEC is going to look bigger and stronger than the rest. That's just how it's going to be. It really is the SEC and then everyone else. And I don't know if that's good for college football, but you can't be happy if you're Texas A&M. You can't be happy if you're Oklahoma State. West Virginia, where do you go? The Big Ten doesn't want them with their academic standard they have at West Virginia. They might have to go back to the ACC or go to the ACC. So there's a lot up in the air. There's a lot going on. Obviously, make sure y'all are over on Dog Post. We're talking about this left and right. The front page is all about conference realignment, what's going to happen, what could happen. So make sure y'all head over to Dog Post for the latest and drop in the comment section what you think. Is this good for Georgia? Is this good for the SEC? Is this good for college football? And how do you think this is all going to shape out? So it's an exciting time. Again, I think news will break probably next week that this is official. We're hearing that Texas and Oklahoma would like to join the SEC next year in 2022. Not sure if that's going to happen, but I think 2023 is absolutely a real chance. I definitely could see that happening. So for the latest, make sure you head over to Dog Post, drop in the comment section what you think is going to happen moving forward, and I will see you over on the website.